And we are live. Welcome, everybody, to the DFS Embedding UFC live show at RPS. I am your host, JSU. And today we get the best of both worlds. We get to talk a little betting, we get to break down the fights for UFC Fight Island, and then we get to bring it to the DFS side. So first, we got, the Keg CEO, Jason. What's going on, brother? He's going to break down the fights. What's up, man?
What's going on, JSU? Excited, man. We're halfway through this Fight Island month, and so far it's been profitable. So we'll try to keep it going.
I love it, man. And Jason's going to give us an in-depth breakdown of all the fights. He's going to give us any betting leans. And, Jason's going to be a big part of our Run Pure Bets team. And don't forget, guys, to make sure you get over there on Twitter. Follow Run Pure Bets on Twitter. Got exciting news coming. We should be going live, hopefully, in the next couple of weeks or soon. So make sure you get over, follow them so you can get all the news right when it happens. And then we get our new staff member for RPS, our new MMA guy, Titletown. Zach, what's up, brother?
How's it going, JSU? MMA's been great so far. You had the big first hit on Wednesday or Saturday to open it up. Who finished it off last week? Couple of decisions, couple stuff, a lot of variance, 44 significant strikes for Gordon was something tilting. And then
that was rough, man. That was just, and you picked the winner too. I mean, you can't hate on it, but at the same time, it was just, that was rough.
I mean, when I saw 100 significant strikes halfway through the third piling, I was like, we got a monster score. It's in the optimal for sure. And I mean, I haven't seen something that bad ever. And then the next fight, I mean, going for the takedown with 8 seconds left, gets elbowed questionably in the back of the head. Who knows what? Door opens. I mean, couldn't have ran any worse than that in the two fights. Other than that, it was a pretty good week. Hoping tomorrow is good.
Yeah, no, for sure. And Zach helped me out a little bit. On Saturday, he gave me the best captain play, which was Peter Yan, and I kind of went really heavy on Peter Yan and the captain, and it worked out for me. I came in second in that FanDuel. I think it was like an $8.88 entry, and won $13K, tied with 2 other people for second. So I can't complain. MMA has started to turn for me, and I hope to keep it that way. So let's get into this fights though, guys, because I mean, Jason, I want to start with you. Let's break down Felipe and Spivak.
Yeah, Carlos Felipe was popped by USADA when he was originally supposed to make his debut a few years ago. He was dropped from the roster. Then the UFC re-signs him. Now he makes the debut. He hasn't fought in 2+ years, and it was hard to find a ton of tape on this guy. This was the one fight I had trouble with. I think we know what Sergey Spivak is, at least a tough guy, probably an above-average gas tank, and somebody that doesn't have a ton of power for the division. I think his success historically has been entirely predicated on whether or not he can get the fight to the ground. With that said, knowing how good Carlos Felipe's takedown defense seems paramount to me before I can figure out who wins the fight. So I have to try to find more tape on him. I only found one fight, didn't really help me all that much. And I did like a 15-hour film session and couldn't find anything on him. So I will know more tomorrow. With that said, for people that are looking at this fight while it's happening, if Sergey Spivak is getting the fight to the ground, he most likely wins the fight. If he has an issue, then he could have an issue winning the fight because the stand-up game really isn't that strong, in my opinion. So stay tuned. I'll throw something out on Twitter about this fight tomorrow, just for people that need an update. I just got to find some more tape on Carlos Felipe.
Okay, so Zach, let's bring it to the DFS side, and we got Spivak at 8,400 on DraftKings and Felipe at 7,800. What is your take on this fight from the DFS side?
So this was one of the fights, Jason, I actually wanted to ask you about because Spivak wants to take it to the ground. If he gets it there, do you see him grounding pounding? Do you see him scoring enough in a 3-round decision where you think he has upside to be on the optimal, let's say 100-point upside? Or do you think it's more in the clinch, he gets him down, kind of just lays on him, gets a boring decision?
Yeah, I lean boring decision. He probably clinches against the cage, rips and trips. His top control is not that bad. So if he does successfully get the fight to the ground, I think that he will keep it there, but that doesn't mean that he's going to
get points.
You know how it is. So my gut says if Spivak is winning the fight, it's probably a boring decision.
Yeah, so at 8,400, I mean, I can't get behind that a lot. We don't have an inside the distance line yet for him either, so I'm still waiting to see that. And then 7,800. I mean, Felipe, I'm interested. I mean, he has power. He can. I think Spivak, like I said, I don't think he's great. You stuff the takedowns, you can piece him up on the feet. The dogs on this card, they're tough. This is a tough card to find a dog you like. So 7,800, he can get the win. I'm gonna be about even on the field because, as you said, he's a big unknown. Tape isn't great, so I'm gonna be even with the field. I don't want him to kill me the first night. Spivak, I'm gonna be under. I don't think he scores great in the decision, as Jason was saying.
All right. Yeah. So, I mean, I think we hit that one good. So let's bring it to the next fight, Jason. We've got Hamas versus Sarkayan. Sarkayan is a minus 200 favorite. So what do you think about this fight? And is there any betting lean at the end?
Yeah, I think it's a solid fight. I think Hamas needs the fight more than so I think his name is Tsurugi, is how you pronounce it. I could be wrong though. Hamas, he's a very good grappler. My issue with him is he has not implemented a cohesive game plan from start to finish against anybody of significance in a while. So, you can push a pace against Hamas and steal rounds, but that's only the case if his world-class grappling is not getting the job done. But it's a concern. As far as Tsurugi, he's not great at anything. Very solid wrestling game. The kid is relentless. He does have an average striking game that still needs work on, but that isn't enough to get the job done if Hamas isn't finding success while rolling on the mat. That being said, I think if you give Hamas an inch on the ground, he will end your day in a hurry. I worry about his cardio, though, against a really good athlete like Tsurugi. So the line currently isn't off that far from the opener. I think I lean that if Hamas doesn't get the fight done in round one, I think that it dramatically swings in the favor of his opponent because his gas tank isn't great, and if Tsurugi is stuffing takedowns, Hamas doesn't have much more than that. So I think this is a perfect live betting situation. You see how the first round plays out. If Hamas is getting takedowns, I would look to pounce on him. I believe he's the dog, right, in this fight?
Yes, he's plus 160.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, plus 170 right now at bet 365. My strategy for this fight would be if Hamas is getting takedowns early, I would probably look to hop on him live because he does have a world-class grappling game, in my opinion. And if he finds an opening, that's a wrap. Aside from that, from a betting perspective, the fight's a pass.
Fight's pass. Okay, so Zach, let's bring it to the DFS side. 8,700 for Tsurugi and Hamas is 7,500 on DraftKings. Jason said, Hamas, if he gets him down to the ground, he, gets those takedowns, he likes him. I mean, does that make you like him a little bit at that price for DraftKings scoring?
Yeah, I mean, Tsurugi at 8,700, that's a fade. I can't. That's way too much. I mean, it's 300 less than main event. I'm the favorite. So, I mean, you just can't you just can't pay 8,700 for. I mean, he gets a win, he still could score 70 points. I don't see that in the optimal, so that's a fade for me. And then Hamas, yeah, at 7,500. I mean, he definitely has a lot of upside. If he can take it to the ground, he is going to score well. I like that for 7,500 with the lack of other dogs on this card. So I'm going to be even with the field, probably going to get a little overweight on him too. On FanDuel, he's even a better play because they give you points for submission attempts. So at $13, I mean, he's a smash play over there. I like him a lot on DraftKings and FanDuel. I'll be a little overweight on the field. And Sarikian, I'm just 8,700. If you're playing 150 lineups, you can get a couple, but I'll be playing 150 lineups, and I still just might full fade.
Yeah, that sounds like a full fade. Tsurugi and Jason, does he have a solid takedown defense? I can't remember if you talked about that.
I would say it's average at best. The fact that he is a really solid athlete always helps in situations like that. And that's why I think if he could sustain the chain takedown attempts in round one, the fight probably starts to flow back into his favor, which is probably why he's the favorite. But I just can't lay minus 211 on a guy like him. I just can't.
So that's why you like the live betting, because you can kind of see what round one brings and then kind of see if he's stuffing the takedowns. If he's stuffing the takedown, then he's probably going to look good the rest of the fight, right?
Right. And on the flip side, if you see Hamas as a plus 180 underdog and a really, really good grappling game, if he gets takedowns early in round one, he could very well finish that fight in round one. So I would say I'd be looking for the dog live to see if he's capable of getting the takedowns. Other than that, I probably stay away.
All right, cool. So let's get to the next fight. We got Al-Bazi versus Gordon. Al-Bazi is minus 167 on DraftKings. Gordon is a plus 135 dog. Jason, what are you thinking about this fight?
I think that if you're looking for a live long shot, I think Malcolm Gordon checks all the boxes personally. I mean, while he most certainly should be the underdog, he has the tools to either stop somebody in the cage or be stopped in the cage, right? So what would concern me is Gordon hasn't shown that he's capable of making a ton of adjustments in real time. That's concerning. So if things are not going his way, I don't really trust him to alter the game plan. But he's fully capable of beating somebody with the skill set of a guy like Al-Bazi. So they are both very good grapplers. They get subs in bunches. Gordon probably has the better stopping power, but my issue with him is technique. He's really raw. And my biggest issue with him is he is not a fan of being hit. And you get hit hard in the UFC. He has crawled up into a ball before from strikes. And, he is capable of crumbling from heavy striking pressure. But all that said, at plus 150, I think he's live at a price. I haven't decided whether or not that I'll be on him, but he's one of the more intriguing underdogs on the card, in my opinion.
All right. So, Zach, Jason likes the dog a little bit in this fight. What say you? You got Gordon at 7,600 on DraftKings, whereas Al-Bazi's coming in at 8,600. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I like this fight a lot. I'm gonna go against you there a little bit. I'm gonna be heavy on Al-Bazi, as you mentioned. Gordon, when he gets hit, he crumbles. I can see Al-Bazi. I mean, he puts it on him. Gordon might give up a little bit. I mean, Al-Bazi, I like him. He can finish. I like his upside more. So at 8,600, I know he is more expensive, but I'm gonna be slightly overweight on Al-Bazi. And then Gordon, I'm still go for it.
No, I can't argue with that because he does crumble under heavy striking pressure. So it's hard to argue with anything you said.
Yeah, and 8,600, he's not upper tier. He's not with the big guys, so you get a little price discount on him too. And I see similar upside as a lot of. We'll get to the upper tier later, but unlike last card, I don't like a lot of these guys a lot or as much as usual. So I'm gonna be overweight in Al-Bazi, but Gordon, I mean, he's a live dog for sure. He's a good fighter. I think this is gonna be a very fun fight. I'm going to get some Gordon. I'm going to be a little underweight on the field, I think, because I do think he's going to come in a little more popular than he should. But if you're making multiple entries, which I recommend in MMA, don't full fade Gordon. He's definitely live, but I'll have more Al-Bazi.
Is this a fight that you could see being finished in round 1 or 2 if he's getting hit hard and he kind of crumbles, or what do you think?
I think Al-Bazi, I think either guy could finish it. I mean, they're both very good fighters. There's a -150 inside the distance prop. First round, I wouldn't bet on that. Jason, curious to hear what you say, but I can see this fight finishing for sure. I like this fight for upside.
Yeah. So, Jason, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be looking to take like fight ends in round 1, 2, or 3 prop, but I do think that they're both capable of finishing the fight inside the distance, whether it comes from submission or by knockout stoppage. So I understand why the line is -150 for the fight to not go the distance. I would probably also make it a small favorite.
All right. So let's get to the next fight. We've got Johns versus Jackson. Let's see. Jackson is a -215 favorite, where Johns is coming in on DraftKings at +170. Jason, what do you think about this fight?
Like the fight a lot. It could be one of those low-key great fights of the night. They're both solid guys. Brett Johns, a brawler. He always lets you know that you're in a fight with him every time he steps in the cage. Solid striking game. You know, he does string combinations well, although he seems to overextend himself a lot of the time, man. But still, solid combinations. He doesn't use all his limbs the way I would like him to. You don't see a lot of kicks from Johns. I think he level changes well. He has an above average double leg takedown for sure. His wrestling game really needs to be a threat in a fight for him to control it, I believe, because just leaning on his range and pocket striking, I don't think is enough on its own to scare anybody. Montel Jackson, I think he's a better range striker. He is very big for the division. He seems more impressive to me when you watch his fights. He's also a solid wrestler. I think his ability to hop in and out of range with some solid striking accuracy is the best thing that he does. So Jackson will probably dictate the pace in the fight, if I had to guess. But one thing that does worry me are his scrambles. Brett Johns is more instinctive in random scrambles. Johns impressed me, even though he lost to Pedro Munoz. His overall game impressed me in that fight. Even still, I lean Montel Jackson to win the fight right now. It's one of the fights I want to watch slightly more tape, but I am definitely leaning Montel Jackson right now. The only thing that worries me is John's top control and his submission game is a legitimate threat, I think, in the fight. But even still, I lean Montel Jackson here.
All right. So, Zach, you talked about you don't love many of the high price guys on this slate. Is this a guy in Jackson that you don't love because he's coming in at 9,100 on DraftKings, and Johns is coming in at 7,100, so he's dirt cheap. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, this pricing is just off. I mean, Montel Jackson, does he probably win? Yeah, probably, but I don't think -220. And his upside, it's just, I think it goes to a decision if he wins. I don't think he scores enough for his price. So I'm going to be under on Jackson. If playing 10 lineups, I'm full fading him. If you're playing 50 or something, get a little. But Brett Johns, I mean, he is so active, 7,100. Even in a loss, he can beat other guys in that range. I mean, and he also, as Jason was saying, he has passed to victory for sure. He's a good fighter. He's up tempo. 7,100 is just too cheap. I'm going to be with the field. I think.
Yeah,
go for it.
I agree. I agree completely with that. Like, if you're talking about a $2,000 difference in terms of DFS, the fight is certainly close enough where Johns could definitely win the fight, which is why I wouldn't lay $2 on Montel Jackson. But if you're talking about a $2,000 difference in DFS, I completely agree. 100%.
Yeah, I just think Yeah, the pricing just seems wrong. Yeah, and they're forcing you to play some Johns. I'll let other people play Jackson. I mean, even in a win, I don't see him finishing Johns. Johns is a tough guy. And in a decision win, yeah, 80 points maybe. I don't know, 9,100. I'll take my shots elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like a fade. If he's not going to be able to finish the guy at 9,100, you kind of need that finish, right? So I like it. I like Johns at 7,100 as a stab. But yeah, I mean, let's get into the next fight. We've got Alvarez versus Duffy. Duffy's coming in as a minus 335 favorite on DraftKings, whereas Alvarez is plus 250. Jason, what say you about this?
Always fun to watch a Joe Duffy fight. I like the kid. He's a scrapper. Everybody knows he made his name beating Conor McGregor in Cage Warriors. That being said, I have no desire to bet a money line side in this fight. Do I think Duffy wins the fight? Probably. There's no way I'm looking to lay 350 on Joe Duffy. Alvarez doesn't really excite me at all, if I'm being honest. But I would never tell anybody not to bet a plus 275 dog that's even remotely live, especially when you're fighting. But, like for Joe Duffy backers, I would be a little worried about Duffy talking about retirement. If your head is not in the game when you step into the cage, it usually gets taken off. So when I look at Alvarez, I don't see a fighter that really belongs in the UFC. He did look impressive on the regional scene, crushing cans. That doesn't really do anything for me. I think his low output striking game is a big issue. And I think he pulls guard way too much, which sometimes leads to rounds that he gives away because somebody with solid top control will steal around that way. So it wouldn't shock me if Alvarez caught Duffy in a submission if Duffy was sloppy. But at the end of the day, even though I won't be betting Duffy, I lean that he wins the fight. That being said, it's only a dog or pass spot because you should never lay this kind of money on somebody with the skill set that Joe Duffy has.
Yeah, so it kind of seems like Jason Zach doesn't really like either fighter too much. And on DraftKings, Duffy's coming in at 9,300, where Alvarez is 6,900. I mean, pretty big price difference. But do you like this fight at all, or is it one of those full fade fights? What are you doing here?
Yeah, so Duffy, as he hit on it, I mean, this price is ridiculous. 9,300. I'll let others play that. I'm going to be way underweight. Will I get a little in 150? Probably, but I mean, he should not be the most expensive fighter on the slate. So he's out for me. And Alvarez, I'm actually at 6,900. He's not going to be very owned. So it won't be hard to get overweight in the field. I think he's a lot more live. I think people are going to look at the number like a 250 dog, 265. So he's not going to be played. And I think he's a lot more live than they're giving him credit for. He's going to have a height advantage over him. I just don't think Duffy's really that good. Yes, he beat Conor McGregor. That's where he's made his name pretty much. So for $6,911, I mean, that gets you a lot with your lineup. I'm not saying you really need to save the salary. The salary is really tight this week. But for the ownership, I'll be slightly overweight in Alvarez, and I think he's a player. He gets a win, and he comes in at 8%. Rumpier can be shipping everything, so I'll definitely have a little bit.
All right. So let's move on to the next fight. We've got Nermani versus Dawson. Let's see here. Dawson's coming in at a minus 250 favorite, whereas Nermani on DraftKings is plus 195. Jason, what do you think about this fight?
Yeah, it's a 150-pound catchweight fight. I like that Naurdiev as a striker. I think that he's probably a better striker in the fight than the wrestle boxer that Grant Dawson is. But when I say wrestle boxer, I use the term loosely. Dawson is a very good wrestler, but his boxing game from a technical standpoint is a shit show. So, however, I just think that, Naurdiev, when he controls exchanges, he looks like a very solid, competent striker. When he's not the fighter that's leading exchanges, he doesn't look that good. He falls apart. I think in order for Narimani to bring his grade A striking game, he needs to lead the exchanges on Saturday night. If Dawson turns the fight into a war with chain takedown attempt after chain takedown attempt and a bunch of scrambles, there is most certainly a path of victory for Grant Dawson, which is why he is the minus 250 favorite. He can make it into an ugly slog, and Narimani would probably lose a fight like that. With that said, I do think there's a little bit of value at plus 200 taking a shot on somebody that is at the very least a competent striker in Nad Narimani. I don't know how this translates to the DFS side, but I think Dawson should be more like a minus 190, minus 180 favorite instead of a minus 250 favorite. So I think there's slight value on Narimani if you're looking to just take a flyer on a live dog.
Yeah, so for DFS, we've got Dawson coming in at 9,200, where Narimani is 7K. So we got 2,200 difference here on DraftKings. Zach, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I don't like the upper tier, but you got to pick some guys, and I'm going to go with Grant Dawson. I think his upside, I mean, as you mentioned, I think he can rinse and repeat takedowns. He gets on the ground. Grant Dawson's good. He really is. Yeah, I planned on being pretty much fading Narimani. I'm going to now raise that a little bit now that Jason, he likes him a little more. So I'll still be slightly underweight on the field because I'm going to have a lot of Dawson. He's my second favorite spend up. I just think he has the most upside at the 9K range, obviously besides Figueiredo. So I'm definitely gonna be overweight on Dawson and hope he can get the takedowns, get it to the ground, and win it that way.
Yeah, I agree, JSU. It's like that night you and I were talking about the Jessica Cynthia Calvillo fight. Might have been a close fight, right? But one of those women were just going to chain takedown attempts. And if you're getting big scores on the DFS side for takedown attempts, then I think he is right on the money.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we want, right? We want guys who are, takedown after takedown or throwing a bunch of volume. So that's what we're looking for here. So, I mean, yeah, I like it. Zach, do you have anything else?
Yeah, Dawson on FanDuel too, because you get the submission attempts and all that. Dawson's a smash play over there. I'm going to be very overweight on Dawson. I'm thinking 65%, which is definitely going to be way over the field. All these guys are kind of bunched in together. There's not really a main cup. Besides Figueiredo, guys don't really stand out. So you got to pick your spots, and I'm going to go with Dawson.
All right, I like it. So the next fight here, we've got Ibragimov, you can mess that name up with me, or Doladez. Doladez is coming in at a minus 167 favorite, where Ibragimov is coming in at plus 135. Jason, say these guys' names right, and then talk about this fight.
Yeah, I think it's Ibragimov and Dolidze, I think is how they say it, but I could be wrong. Yeah, Dolidze, he's a raw fighter that should probably have went through the Contender Series, if I'm being honest, before he was given the opportunity to fight on Fight Island. But unfortunately, these are the times that we're in with the pandemic. He's only had 6 professional fights, and he fought for a very lower league organization called WWFC, I believe, where the level of competition is really bad. He doesn't do much in the cage. The gas tank doesn't seem great. The striking is sloppy. But if he connects, he can make some noise. He's an okay light heavyweight prospect and not much more than that. He has a couple heel hook submission wins, which is impressive. But when you take a look at who he got them off of, they're straight tomato cans. So Ibragimov, I believe he held the title in M1 before. I have to check that, but I'm pretty sure. But another lower league promotion, maybe slightly more well-known than WWFC. His striking and grappling game is subpar at best. Another fighter that does absolutely nothing for me. He's a tough guy, that can take damage, but he hasn't shown he's good in returning that damage. So, I suppose Dolidze deserves to be the favorite because he seems like a better light heavyweight prospect. But, that's by the slimmest of margins, in my opinion. So, I'm not looking to lay my money on either of these guys because I just don't think they're skilled enough. But if you had to nail me down, I would probably lean towards Dolidze.
All right, so Zach Dolidze's coming in at 8,900, so he's up there, and then Agabringov at 7,300. What do you think from the DFS side?
Just another mispricing. It's like, as Jason was saying, it shouldn't be this spread out. It's a lot closer fight. Ibragimov got heavy money coming in on him recently. I just saw he's down to plus 137. Dolidze minus 147. So yeah, I'm gonna be heavier on Ibragimov. I do like this fight. It's supposed to finish inside the distance. I will definitely be overweight on Ibragimov. Good value. I'll take my chances there. I do think Dolidze, he has upside. He definitely can get a finish and score well in the first round. So I'll still be underweight because you're pretty much betting, I think, on a first round finish. And for that price, I'll bet against that. But I'll definitely still get some, but I'll be underweight on him. It's a good fight in general, the target, but 7,300, it's just a mispricing. He has upside. We'll talk about it later, but this is a week where you can leave money on the table. I wouldn't be surprised if there's 4 sub 8K guys that get in the optimal. It's definitely tough.
Yeah. So next fight we got is Pantoja minus 210 favorite versus Askarov at plus 165 on DraftKings. Jason, what do you think about this fight?
Love this fight. Could absolutely be a fight of the night candidate. Big fan of Pantoja. I always look forward to his fights. My first thought was Pantoja is a seriously underrated flyweight, and it's tough to go against him almost always. Looking at his 2 losses against Figueiredo and Dustin Ortiz, the question is, can Askarov imitate the game plan that those two brought into the cage when they beat him? After watching the tape, I'm not sure, man. Pantoja is super aggressive in the cage, and Askarov will be fighting off that back foot probably all night. Askarov did really well fighting off his back foot in the Tim Elliott fight. But if we're going to compare Tim Elliott in his current state and his skill set and what Pantoja brings into the cage, I mean, it's just they're on different levels right now, man. So both these fighters have very solid footwork. They're both offensive and defensive minded. I'm not sure Askarov will consistently be able to get the best of every scramble. And I don't know how he deals with the volume and power that Pantoja brings into every fight, especially when he walks into the cage as the lesser athlete, for sure. So I didn't feel comfortable laying the original price of minus 175 on Pantoja. So I'm certainly not going to lay the minus 200. It could be a fight I looked at bet live. If the fight continues to go up in odds dramatically, like we saw Wednesday night when we saw $2 move changes in the matter of 3 hours, if that happens, maybe I would take a small flyer on Askarov if the value was there, but no way at this price. I think Pantoja wins the fight. So it'll be a fight that I probably sit back and watch, unless maybe Pantoja drops the first round. You can get him at a really cheap price live. Maybe you buy in on Pantoja then. I think Pantoja wins the fight. Right now, I just don't see the value.
Do you think there's a lean in if he finishes inside the distance, or if it goes the whole fight? What do you think?
I think he's fully capable of knocking this guy out or submitting him. I mean, I think he has that kind of skill set. Doesn't mean that it'll happen, but I think he's fully capable.
All right. So Zach, I mean, Jason likes Pantoja. Pantoja's 8,800 on DraftKings. Askarov is 7,400. What do you think about these prices, and who do you like?
Yeah, I think Pantoja is going to win too. At first, in the beginning of the week, I wasn't really sure how much Pantoja I'd want, but I see it's inside the distance line opened at plus 383, and it's already down to plus 245. It's pretty big movement. I'm definitely gonna have more than I originally thought. I was gonna ask you, Jason, if it in a three round decision win, do you think he does has a lot of takedowns, significant strikes? Do you think he's very active, or do you see this more as he wouldn't score as well for DraftKings?
I think if we have seen anything from Pantoja, he doesn't stop and he is constantly trying to fuck you up. So, in my opinion, he is fully capable and has the motor to be active for all 15 minutes. I'm not sure how that translates to DFS, but
That's
yeah,
true.
I think from the moment that bell goes, he's like a missile, especially if he gets hit hard. Like the kid snaps out mid-fight and goes crazy. So yeah, I think he will be very active the whole way through.
Yeah, so I like that, especially because I don't like a lot of guys up there. 8,800. I'm gonna be slightly overweight on him. He's gonna be active. I like this line movement a lot. I don't think Askarov wins the fight. I was already on Pantoja, so 8,800. Not liking a lot of high price guys. I will definitely be slightly overweight on Pantoja.
All right. So next fight we got here is Lipsky and Karolina. For betting odds right now, we've got Lipsky coming in at a slight favorite, minus 125 on DraftKings, where Karolina is plus 100. Jason, what do you think about these odds, and what do you think about the fight?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I have placed a bet on Ariane Lipsky by decision at plus 140. Listen, this fight is bad. Both these girls suck, okay? But it's about styles and who sucks less. And I have to go with Ariane Lipsky. She's an okay range striker, okay in the pocket. Her striking accuracy when she finds a groove is not that bad. Her gas tank seems serviceable. Her defensive striking is lacking, but it's because she has a lot to learn when it comes to technique. That will come when her footwork is better and the angles that she cuts starts to leave real openings in the pocket. Right now, she's really not there. That being said, where she really struggles is against bigger, more physical women. If you take a look at what's happened in her last couple fights, just like the JoJo Calderwood fight, if she fights a bigger girl that can take her down, she will be down for the entire round. She's just not good. Luckily for her, that is not Karolina. So Karolina is tall, lanky, skinny. She doesn't have the strength to continually take the fight to the ground. She's a range striker that wants to stay away from you until she dips in and out of the pocket in exchanges. So the issue is she isn't that good at what she does best. So her range striking probably worse than Lipsky's, in my opinion. And when it comes to fighting in the phone booth, it's not even close. Ariane Lipsky's exchanges and combinations in the pocket much better than Karolina. So Karolina is going to try to clinch. She's got decent knees when she can clinch, but at the end of the day, I just don't think she will be able to take Ariane Lipsky to the ground. And if that's the case, if it's just a kickboxing match, I have to side with Ariane Lipsky. So I bet her by decision at plus 140.
Yeah. And before we get to the DFS side, shout out to DFS Wizard Return. He won 11,500 last week. And he said, thank you so much for the great content. So, from last show
Congrats,
and
man.
everything, that's awesome, man. So congratulations to you.
Awesome.
That's so cool. So Zach, let's take it to the DFS side. Lipsky, who Jason likes a lot, is 8,300. Karolina, 7,900. What are you thinking here? And what do you think about the prices?
Yeah, I'm not interested in this fight. I'm going to be very underweight on both. Can full fade if you're making 150. I still might full fade and just take that stand and let others play. I don't see the upside. Prices are fine, but I don't see the upside on who wins. I don't even know who wins. It's that close. So you're parlaying too much to really make it worth it. I'll let others chase. I mean, they're going to be 10% probably or something, 20% of the field down in that fight. I'm not touching it.
So you don't like this fight. All right, so it's a full fade fight.
Yep.
So let's see. Next fight on the card, we've got Dekis versus Fiziev. Dekis is a minus 167 favorite. Fiziev is plus 135. Jason, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, another random lightweight fight on the card. Mark DeCasey is a very solid athlete. His cardio has been better than when he initially started in the UFC. He carries a nice power for the division. He is rarely ever out of a fight. It's just his style. He was impressive to me in his fight against Nasrat Haqparast, even though he ended up losing that fight. There were some times where I liked what he did. He looked good against Duffy and Land of Venata. DeCasey, he's a solid hand speed guy, average range striker for the division. I wished he fought behind his jab more. At times, he is really easy to telegraph in his exchanges because he does not set them up with the jab. He has an underrated grappling game. Now, I hadn't really seen much of Rafael Fiziev, excuse me. I liked what I saw. I'm not going to lie. If you put the quick knockout aside that he suffered against Magomed Mustafayev, I kind of like what I've seen from the kid. He always controls the octagon. He constantly moves forward. He cuts the ring off all the time. He is right there in the pocket, in your face, looking to fight you every minute of every round. So the difference between DeCasey striking and Fiziev striking, I guess I would say is technique. DeCasey has it. I think Fiziev a little more wild. When he actually pulls the trigger, he really is looking to just murk you, take your head off. I don't like the fact that, he leaves his chin out in the open. He does not tuck his chin all that much, and that's not a great look. But he is a dangerous kid in the cage for sure. So DeCasey doesn't like to be pressured, and he doesn't like to fight off his back foot. One thing that will happen on Saturday is he will be fighting off his back foot. Fiziev's cardio seems solid from what I've seen from him, but I think what can be a major factor in the fight is his lackluster takedown defense. He lets fighters get really high up on those hips, and it becomes easily to take him down. That's something you have to consider because DeCasey has a solid double leg takedown, and he's got solid top control. So right now, I lean Mark DeCasey. I have not bet the fight yet, though. I want to watch as much tape as I possibly can on Rafael Fiziev because I did like what I saw, but I guess right now I lean DeCasey.
All right, so Zach, we got DeCasey coming in at 8,500 on DraftKings, where Fiziev is 7,700. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, this fight is pretty tough to break down. I'm going to be slightly underweight on both guys, but I still want some of both. I don't, in a 3-round decision for either guy, I'm not sure they're going to score enough to be on the optimal I want them. DeCasey, I think, I mean, he has power. He's going to be on his back foot. I think he could catch him, but that's banking on a lot. 8,500. It's not my favorite price, but I still do want some because I think he does have the upside. And then Fiziev, he's 7,700. He can win. So that's enough on this card at 7,700 as a dog. I'm not in love with it. Do you think, Jason, on a 3-round decision for either of these guys? It sounds like you think Fiziev would score more in a 3-round decision win. But do you think there is a mix of takedowns? Do you think there's 150 significant strikes thrown? What are you thinking? Or do you think it's just more of one's backing up and a couple strikes here and there?
To be honest, from what I've seen, I don't see how Fiziev wins a decision on points. My gut would say if he wins the fight, he probably catches DeCasey and knocks him out. Now, I do think that DeCasey's style sets up for him to just take rounds. He's got the good good takedowns. Fiziev lets you get up on those hips. And like you just said, Mark DeCasey has pretty solid power for the division. I think DeCasey could win by knockout or by just a wrestle fuck for 3 rounds. I think Fiziev, if he wins, probably by knockout, because I don't think he throws enough volume to edge these rounds points wise with the judges. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I like that's why. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with slightly underweight on both because I mean Zayev has a 340 inside the distance prop right now. It's not something I love getting behind. There's other fights I like more, so I'm gonna be slightly underweight, but I'm still gonna want pieces of both because we don't really. I don't have a strong line on who's even gonna win, how it's gonna happen. So I don't want this fight ruining my night if something happens in the first round. But I'll be slightly underweight, hoping that it's a boring win.
Yeah. Anything else on this fight before we move on?
I think that's it for me.
All right. So next fight we've got is Hermansson versus Gastelum. This is a pick 'em right here. Minus 112 fight. Jason on DraftKings. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I had to take a stand here, man. Listen, Jack Hermansson, he looked phenomenal in his fight against Jacare. He impressed me a lot. He had a very low-key 2019. He gets the decision win there. He gets the sub on Brunson. He does end up losing to Jared Cannonier. But, okay. My starting point, I said this on SportsGrid this morning. When I start with this fight, it's if this isn't a classic buy low spot on Kelvin Gastelum, when are you ever going to back this kid again? Because I still believe he's one of the best middleweights in the world. Now, yes, he did lose that championship fight to Adesanya in the 5th round. He lost a very close 48-47 decision there, right? He did lose a split decision to Darren Till. Darren Till, a legitimate top 5 guy in the world, right? Now, Hermansson striking has been getting better, but we know what he is. He will be looking to get Gastelum to the ground. He knows his wrestling is his best asset, to use his top control and grind out rounds, right? So one big factor for me in the fight, Kelvin Gastelum's a southpaw. Hermansson has struggled significantly in the past against southpaws. So for me, when I watch Hermansson, he sets everything up through his jab. And when he faces those southpaw guys, his jab just slips away during the fight. I don't know why it happens with southpaws and not traditional, but it seems to happen. That's huge, man. And this is a big fight for Kelvin. We know he's got an iron jaw. We know that Hermansson's not going to hurt Gastelum striking, because he doesn't throw with enough volume or power to hurt Gastelum. We've seen Gastelum take some major shots. So my issue is Kelvin needs to stay busy in the cage. He can't let the judges think that Hermansson is edging these points just because he's throwing a little more volume. And the other concern is the biggest, the takedown defense. Kelvin needs to make stuffing these takedowns a legitimate priority, or he's going to lose the fight. But like I said, at the end of the day, we have to take the fighter that's based on value alone, especially when you're betting this sport. If you don't take Kelvin at this price against this level of competition, you will never bet this kid again in his UFC career. And I'm willing to take a stand at this kind of discount because I truly believe he's still one of the best middleweights in the world. I think he would be better at welterweight personally. I don't know why he never went down, but this is where he is. Against the Joker, I got to take Gastelum at like minus 110.
Yeah, so on DraftKings, Gastelum is 8,200 and Hermansson's 8K. So this is a pretty close fight in price. Zach, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, man, this fight is so close. I mean, it can't get any closer. Gastelum has a higher inside the distance line. I think he does have. If someone's going to finish it, I think it's going to be him. Hermansson throws more volume, which I like. This at first, this line opened at -115 to finish inside the distance, and it's gone all the way up to plus or -120, and now it's at +115, and that's what I was scared of in the beginning. I don't know if there's going to be enough volume and enough output for the winner to be on the optimal, and I think this fight's going to be really popular because you always in your lineups you always land in the 8,200, 8,000 range for your last piece after you plug everyone in. So these guys are definitely going to have ownership. I'm going to be slightly underweight on both, hoping that it is because they're going to be overowned. I do not think that it's going to be finished inside the distance, and they're going to be overowned. If Jason, if you had to say they both go to a decision and either one wins, do you think Hermansson has a higher score because he just throws more output?
Yeah, I was thinking about this for you guys today. What you're basically going on is Gastelum going to knock him out, or is Hermansson going to be able to get the takedowns and grind a decision? Because sometimes Gastelum gets lulled to sleep and he doesn't throw enough volume. That's what happened in the Darren Till fight. He just didn't throw enough volume in that fight to end up getting over the hump. So, if takedowns are really, really big and highly scored over like a knockout, I guess I would lean taking Hermansson. But then again, I really do think that Gastelum wins, and I would assume that you score the highest for the winner, right? Is that how DFS is?
Yeah, you want the winner for sure. In this fight, Gastelum, if he gets the knockout, especially first or second round, you're going to want him. So I'm going to have Gastelum for sure. I'm going to have both sides of this fight. I'm going to be slightly underweight on this fight, though, because I'm not going to bet. Gastelum's at plus 250 to finish inside the distance right now. I don't want to bank on a first round finish because even if he gets a finish in the third round, that could still not be enough points. Hermansson throws more volume, but I don't even know if he's going to win if he lays on him and he doesn't throw enough output down there. I'm going to be slightly underweight just because I do think they are going to be popular because that's just where people land in their builds. But you do want some of both guys because, as Jason was saying, I mean, Gastelum can catch him, knock him out, and he'll be on the optimum right away. Or Hermansson can get takedowns and actually throw significant strikes. I mean, who knows how they'll be scored? If they're scored like Gordon, I'll have none, but can't always bank on that.
Yeah, but Zach, see, this is why I'm here. I'm not just going to let you say I'm underweight on both these guys. I need you to give me a lean. Which guy are you going to have more of? I need to know because I land in this spot when I'm building my lineups. I need to know who's the lean.
I will have more Hermansson, but I will still be underweight of the field on both because we have enough stands at other places where you don't want to be over. I don't want to be overweight on this fight. If the field's 65%, if both guys, because everyone's going to land here, these guys can both be 35%, and I don't think they should be 25%. So that's why I'm saying underweight because I think this will be so common. I will have more Hermansson because of the volume. I'm not going to bank on a first round knockout. So I'm going to have more Hermansson, but you shouldn't end up above the field in this fight.
All right, so you don't like the fight, but you're going to have a little more Hermansson, but still be underweight on both fighters.
I'm going to be underweight on both fighters, yep, but I will have more Hermansson.
All right, so this brings us, guys, to the final fight, the main event fight. Well, co-main event, whatever. But the final fight of the night. It is Benavidez versus Figueiredo. Figueiredo is a -225 favorite. Benavidez +180 on DraftKings. Jason, what are you thinking about this main event here?
Yeah, the first time around, I was on Figueiredo, but I did not feel great about it because during that first round, Figueiredo, he was close to grabbing the armbar, but I mean, they call him Jiu-Jitsu. It's almost impossible to submit Benavidez. In the first round, Benavidez threw almost double the volume in that fight. But the problem is Joe has no power at all. Okay. Figueiredo threw less volume, but he was landing strikes that were way more significant. And he was the more accurate striker on that day and historically. So, we know what happens. The headbutt goes in round 2. Benavidez goes to like wipe his eyebrow because blood was coming in. Figueiredo catches him and drops him. The end, right? So, what I take away from that fight is if Figueiredo doesn't knock Benavidez out again, the style that I see leads me to think that Benavidez is going to steal rounds with the sheer volume that he threw in the first round and a half of that first fight, because he really did throw like double the strikes. In terms of cage control, I thought Benavidez walked forward in round 1. Figueiredo basically was cutting the cage off in round 2. So if this fight goes into the latter rounds, Benavidez is able to set a pace that I'm not entirely sure that Figueiredo can keep up with, especially when we get to like round 4 and 5. I also think that Benavidez was manhandled in that fight. And if he's going to throw volume, he's coming into a really hot kitchen anytime he steps in the pocket. So it wouldn't shock me to see the same exact result as the last fight. Figueiredo has over 50% striking accuracy through his career, which means that he will definitely land substantial shots tomorrow night. So it could play out in a way where Deiveson Figueiredo is losing the fight right up until the very second that he isn't anymore. And that's exactly what happened in the first fight. So I lean Figueiredo inside the distance minus 120. Okay. That's probably where I would look. If you're only looking to bet the money line, I would not lay the 220 on Figueiredo. The only way that I would look at that point, I guess, would be the plus 190 on Joe Benavidez or pass. But I'm going to take a stand and take a small shot, just a 1-unit play on Figueiredo inside the distance at minus 120, because in order for Joe Benavidez to do what he needs to do to win the fight, he's going to have to be in that pocket a lot. And Deiveson Figueiredo hits hard. So I'm going to take inside the distance minus 120.
All right. So, Zach, Jason likes Figueiredo inside the distance. Figueiredo is 9K on DraftKings, whereas Benavidez is 7,200 on DraftKings. So big price difference, 1,800. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, Figueiredo is my favorite play on the slate. He just has the most upside with the lack of other high-priced guys. A 5-round fight, Figueiredo, he throws hard. He throws really hard for that division. I want almost 100% exposure to this fight, because I think if Benavidez does win, it is by volume, and he is going to score very well. And in your Benavidez lineup, do not be afraid to leave salary on the table, because you won't have Figueiredo at 9K. We don't like a lot of the other high-priced guys. So that's what I'm saying with leaving salary on the table. I'm definitely going to want some Benavidez. I'm thinking right now 70-30, because I'm going to be pretty close to 100% on this fight. But Figueiredo, you just think he can finish this inside the distance, and he's going to score well if he does so. A 5-round fight, the only one with a lack of other star power up top. I'm going to be overweight for sure.
So you're going to have some Benavidez at 7,200. What do you think about playing these two guys together? Is that a strategy you do in cash, in GPPs, when it's this big of a price difference? It's a 5-round fight. How do you do that? Because I see, a lot of people have different thoughts on that strategy. What's yours?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So for cash, I'm going to I don't know how much cash I'm going to play. I don't really love the cash on this slate. But if you're playing cash, I would start with these two. Benavidez throws so much volume, and for 7,200, even in a loss, if it gets 5 rounds, you think he might be able to win. But he throws enough volume, and with the other lower tier guys, he's by far the safest floor. I never stack in GPPs. I know the Holloway, the first slate, the stack got there. If we got the Zumagulov decision, he wouldn't have been. You're just banking on every underdog losing for a stack to work. and a fight to pretty much go 5 rounds. So you're parlaying too much for that to happen. It's definitely negative EV. I never stack in tournaments, but in cash, this is definitely a fight to stack.
Yeah. All right. So guys, before we get to the last part of the show, please, if you like this video, please like, and then if you aren't subscribed to our YouTube video channel, please subscribe too, because it helps us pump out more free content. So we'd really appreciate that. Just hit that like button, that thumbs up for us. But guys, last thing before we get out of here, I want Jason first. I want you give me your favorite bet of the night. Can be any, any fighter you want, any bet, whether you like, an inside the distance call or, knockout submission, whatever it is. Give us your favorite bet of the night.
I'm going to take my stance on Kelvin Gastelum. I just don't think that he's finished. And I think that you very rarely see a discount on a guy that has been, in the top 5 or 6 in the division for the better part of 5 years. So the fact that you can get him around even money, I just think you have to plant your flag and take a shot with him. So give me Kelvin Gastelum.
Zach, is there a favorite bet that you like on this card?
I'm going to give you a couple big stands that'll be DFS wise. I make a couple bets and throw them on there, but I'm not going to give out plays when I'm not very, very confident Jason's the expert. So I'm going to give you guys a couple DFS stands. Figueiredo, that fight in general, 100%, you'll be overweight for sure. I'll be way over on Figueiredo, and that's going to be a big one. Duffy, 9,300. He's minus 350. I think the public or the people that just look at odds and plug them in, he's going to be way over-owned. Alvarez is our leverage, so I like that stand a lot for a big one. And then Ibragimov, how do you pronounce that? Against the
Ibragimov.
Ibragimov, thank you. I'm going to be very overweight on him at 7,300. I think leaving salary on this slate I think the winning lineup is going to leave salary on the slate more than people are comfortable with. So I'm going to be way overweight on him and like his upside a lot. So those are my 3 big stands that are going to be differentiate from the field. So that's what I like.
All right. And then the last question I have before we get out of here is I want your favorite play inside the distance. So someone you think can win by knockout or submission inside the distance. If you had to make, a call on that, Jason, who would be your favorite play? Just anyone, just like your lock of the night that finishes inside the distance.
Give me the 5-round main event. I think Figueiredo has 25 minutes to slam the door on Joe B again. And unfortunately, the whole world wants to see Joe B win a title. 25 minutes is a long time when you got that kind of power in your hands. So give me Figueiredo inside.
So you like him by knockout though too specifically, or do you think he could win by submission as well? Or
you could be safe and take him by knockout or sub at -120. But if you're asking me which way I lean, it would probably be by knockout, even though he was really close to getting an armbar in round 1 of the first fight. It's just really hard to submit somebody like Joe Benavidez. His skill set, it just warrants it. So let's go. Do you have an actual knockout prop? See, right now I don't see method of victory.
Wins by TKO and KO is +110.
There you go. We'll rock with that, JSU.
All right. I love it. I'm putting it in after the show. And then, Zach, I want to take it to you. And your last question, who is your favorite play in the captain spot on FanDuel? Because that's a big thing for FanDuel is the captain spot. You got to hit that right. Who is the guy? Who is the Peter Yan from, two UFCs ago where I can just slam the lock button on him?
Well, I'm going to go with to answer that question too. I was going to bring it up, but Dawson, my favorite bet of the week too is him by submission. So FanDuel gives points on the ground, submission attempts and stuff. I like Grant Dawson to get it done by submission. That's +225 too. So to kill two birds with one stone. I mean, he's my favorite captain on FanDuel, and I'm going to make that bet by submission at plus 225. I like him a lot this week.
Love it. Locking them in after the show. But guys, I think that's going to do it for us. If you haven't gotten over to runpuresports.com, get over there. Make sure you're following the Run Pure Bets on Twitter, getting all the information as it comes out, because that site's going to hopefully be going live soon. But for me, JSU, Titletown, the Sports Keg, we're out of here.
Good luck, guys.
Later.